the sidelines. Has a man wide open. It's tipped. It's picked off. MJ Devonshire. Got space. He's going to take it to the end zone. Pittsburgh takes the lead.
He loves those moments. It reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John's. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell 3. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin.
Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplify Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky, joined by my two wonderful, beautiful co-hosts, Mason Kling, Kent Vanderwood. Mason, how are we doing tonight?
Is it basketball season yet?
Not yet, man. We got a month out. We're a month out.
one of those weekends.
It's volleyball season. Big
All
game
right.
on Friday.
All right. How's Washington looking this week?
Undefeated.
There we go.
Washington,
There we go.
undefeated. Washington State, undefeated. Just call me a bandwagon for the whole state at this point. Ken, how we doing?
We're hanging in there as well as we can be on a Monday after a game like that.
I'll say I never ask myself how I'm doing because that would be a little weird, but I'm doing bad. Not only did Pitt get embarrassed again, I'm a Jets fan, so to see my team get robbed in the national spotlight, I'm fully in the hole. I'm going full conspiracy mode. I think that the NFL is pulling games for Taylor Swift, and it has to be stopped.
We need a C-list level celebrity to come to Pitt games so we can start talking about that because
Okay.
the news lines are not in the game anymore.
Do you think we could pay Wiz Khalifa enough to show up? He did the song.
Yeah, if he's making Oakland originals, I think he'll come sit in a box if we can let him smoke weed in it.
Okay.
Which of our players is he going to date?
Oh, God.
Junko.
I'm all for it. We're accepting on this podcast. Okay. Before we get into the game, couple of news items first. First off, before I forget, follow the pod at Simplify Podcast. We're going to be dropping a tweet tomorrow on Tuesday because it's the bye week. We're going to do a Q&A show later in the week. We're going to be taking any and all questions that you give us. Just drop it in the replies. We'll leave it pinned to the top of the podcast account, all that good stuff. You guys were cooking with your predictions for the VTech game last week, so I expect you guys to cook in the replies there. Second off, if you were looking at the post-game recaps that I did on the Simplify account on Twitter, there was a lot of tweets, probably clogging some timelines, so I moved that over to a free Substack, which I will link somewhere on the podcast. It's got all the hits, basically me complaining about the game as I would normally on Twitter, except it's a little bit more eloquent, and I get to be funny about it because I have a data stew on it. Real news. It's rumored that Pitt is going to be playing in Ireland in 2027 against Wisconsin. How are we feeling about that one?
I'd love to go across the pond, drink a Guinness, and watch the Panthers. You got to think it's going to be like one of those week 0 almost games too, which is like even better reason for a trip over there. If you save the money you would have spent going to a Pitt Bowl game this year, because we're not going to shit, you can put that in like a savings account or something, and by the time that game comes, you have enough saved up to go.
Yeah, no, I would definitely be down to go watch the boys over in Ireland. Hopefully we have a better team at that point. But yeah, I mean, that'd be a cool experience for sure. Boys could get lucky that day and get a win.
Who has more Irish fans, Pittsburgh or Wisconsin?
Pittsburgh, because Wisconsin's mainly like German immigrants. if they played a game in like Berlin, oh my god, that game would be crazy. I will say this is like sort of a win-win. I think if you play in Ireland, you have to play week 0 because of the travel time. So you get a week 0 game, you get 2 bye weeks that year. And then also, if you're in a relationship, this is like a win-win for both of you. You get to take, first off, flights to Ireland are pretty cheap. So you take you and your significant other. You go, oh, it's a vacation to Ireland. Bang, Pitt football game.
Babe, I didn't even know they were playing. What the heck?
The tickets are so
turns
cheap.
out-
You have to go.
Turns out they're actually playing in the town in Ireland that we're in right now today.
Simplify Pod, the only podcast where we encourage you to gaslight your girlfriend.
No, that's not what I'm trying to do here. That's not what I'm trying to do. But
We'll just do a reverse and pinch everybody that's not wearing blue over there.
kiss me, I'm miserable.
Yeah.
But it's in the Pitt script. We should get a shirt. Oh, that would be a great shirt. Fuck, I should get on that. Don't steal my idea. Copyright, trademark, all that good stuff. Also, the Louisville game, which is next week, not this week. We're on a bye this week. It's another night game. I think
they hate
God
us.
is punishing us.
Panthers After Dark.
It's miserable. It's like it's the worst After Dark I've ever seen. I don't get it, honestly. Like, it's homecoming, which I guess, but why? We're being
The irony of the number of years that we were begging to not have a noon kickoff, and now we're begging to have a noon kickoff.
I'd kill for one, dude. I would kill for a noon kickoff because it's so you go to bed angry. We're on the CW again. God.
Yeah, what if it's like a Kirk Cousins thing where Phil's just awful at night games and primetime games? Like, what if we got him in the noon slot and he's 1 o'clock Kirk Cousins?
I might have to do some digging into that. Because his best game this year was the 3:30 game.
The closer it is to noon. He's like a gremlin. You can't let him out too late.
He
No
peeks
water
at
out.
noon.
All right, you might be onto something, man. I think you just uncovered the secret.
That might be it. That might be it. We just got to tell Phil it's a noon game. The sun's not up. I don't know. We're playing in the Arctic Circle or something. I don't know. Just trick him.
We gotta get a dome.
Yeah.
Project the sky onto the dome.
It's just a dome it's like a casino though. There's no windows. We're pumping oxygen in. Phil has no idea what time it is, and we
just sedate him and bring him in, and then we tell him it's noon.
It's noon, but there's an extended solar eclipse for this entire game. Also, the rest of the day.
I love 1 in 4 football pods, and we scheme up Mission Impossible level heists to convince Phil it's a different time of day.
I think we can do it. I mean, listen, we're talking about gaslighting your significant other just about a couple minutes ago, and here, I think if we can do that, we can gaslight Phil into saying, no, it's 1 o'clock. It's noon, actually. It's noon, and the sun is out, but it's actually being blockaded by the moon. So, actually, the sunset's an optical illusion. You're being tricked. I'm not tricking you. You're being tricked. Let's talk about VT.
Yeah.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Who wants to start? Me. I'm going to start.
Yeah, I feel like you want to start.
I don't even know. I feel bad about starting here, but so at this point, I'm kind of like, it's kind of old news to be like, Phil stinks, because we all know it's not even fun to be like to slander him. It's sort of sad at this point. We all know that Frank Scinelli needs to be fired. He's terrible. His offensive play calling sucks. His scheme sucks. So I'm going to find something different to bitch about this week. And what I'm going to bitch about is the offensive line, because they were disgustingly bad. 68, Blake Zubovic. He's a either 5th or 6th year senior, and he just misses guys. Just whether it's an assignment or a pass block, he is consistently getting beat. And I'll be honest, like you hate to hear Pat say like, it's not the fault of one guy because like honestly, Phil is a big anchor on this team, but when you're getting no blocking on the interior of your line, it's not going to work. Nothing's going to work.
It makes the bad worse.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough when we can when Phil has a clean pocket, let alone when he's under pressure for like 70% of his throws. And then you saw it like come back later in the game, and I think even the commentators kind of talked about it where there were a couple clean pockets that Phil was just running from because he was just expecting to be clobbered because of all the missed blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, you hit it on the nail. Like late in the fourth quarter, he has a clean pocket for a couple seconds, and he just takes off and ends up getting tackled behind the line and then taking like a 20-yard sack because he just doesn't know how to act in the pocket anymore. And I don't blame him. He's getting hit so much. The protection is awful. I'll say Zubovic looked very bad for a 6th-year senior, but Branson Taylor, the left tackle replacing Gonsalves, he wears number 78 on the field. He, for a guy who's seen as much playing time as he has, like he was starting basically all of last year once Carter Warren went down. For him to look that bad is atrocious. And Ryan Baer, number 70 on the other side, doesn't look any better. These two tackles, and listen, I played tackle in high school. I'm not going to say I was a D1 caliber player or that I was anywhere close. But the number one rule you get taught is like you never let anyone cross your face. That's any position on the O-line, but especially a tackle in pass protection. And all night, these two, like the interior line is bad enough, but when you have tackles just getting beat every which way, 8 days a week, 25 hours a day, they blow up runs before they can even reach the line of scrimmage, and then the pass protection is just awful. And obviously, I don't think anyone on this podcast would take issue with me saying that Frank Sinetti should be fired, but I think it's time to seriously consider firing Borbley, the O-line coach, because this line has just gotten worse every single year since 2021. And even then, Kenny wasn't playing behind like a great line. Like there was a lot of times where he had to move outside the pocket to make a throw because he was getting pressured right away. And when you then take a step back in line quality, you lose guys like Carter Warren, like Mike Minor, and then you go take a huge step back in quarterback quality the last 2 years. You don't even know. I don't even know what they expected to do. Like, how is this supposed to be successful?
Yeah, no, all good points. Yeah, Mason, as you mentioned, it only makes the bad worse. Phil, once again, I think the play that pretty much summed up the game was the one where he had a wide open guy in the flat and threw it directly into the dirt at his feet.
Oh, God.
And yeah, that's simply not the first time that we've seen him do that this year. He's pretty notorious for doing things like that. I just don't know how you can watch that. Tim or Matt Hasselbeck, I always get them mixed up. One of them was commentating this game, and you could tell they were getting so frustrated by Pitt's whole offense, but also the quarterback play. But had to keep it professional and couldn't blatantly say it. But yeah, it's just crazy how everybody can see it except for coaching. I think Narduzzi's finally starting to break down a little bit. He does make it sound a little bit like it's the O-line's fault and Phil would be good if he had a good O-line.
That's just not the case. We all know it, right? Like you said, if him spiking the ball to Malcolm Epps was the first time he did it, I don't think anyone would really blink at it, right? Like, oh, it's just a bad play, but this happens once or twice a game.
He also, sorry, Zach, you said you weren't going to talk bad about Phil. I will.
Go ahead.
What was it? 3 completions in the first half, I think.
Yeah.
3 for 13, yeah.
his stat line, if you looked at it at the end of the game, he got absolutely bailed out by one of the completions being that touchdown pass, which was
It
fine.
was lucky, right? It was
Yeah.
lucky. There was no skill involved.
Yeah. And then the other one being a screen pass to Sibo Flemister that accounted for probably like 30% of his yards and some garbage time completions to kind of round out the stat line. Like, it was still a very, very poor performance from Phil.
So I will say I had the numbers pulled up. What was Phil's yardage total from this game?
I think it was like 220 something.
Okay.
Like,
Phil was 11 for 22 for 235, 2 touchdowns. Now, I said it before, like, when he hit Bub Means on that deep ball, it didn't feel like a good thing. It just felt like Virginia Tech fucked up by letting Phil actually hit a deep ball. And then the screen pass, like, yeah, actually a great play by Sibo to get it to the end zone. But there was a Virginia Tech defender that just gave him like a speed boost. He like tried to tackle and just ended up throwing him like 8 yards forward. So it was another fuck up on the defense's part. If you take those two away, he's 9 for 20 for 99 yards. It accounted for over half of his yardage.
well, a lot of those other completions were kind of garbage time, little prevent defense by their part too. So, I mean, we could keep, nitpicking these stats as much as we wanted to, but there is still a lot to be desired there.
Yeah, I think Hasselbeck was like pretty much saying what everybody was thinking on the broadcast. He has 3 completions in the first half. You're not going to win a lot of football games like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said that, and then at the end of the game, he basically said everything, but they should bench him. He said something to the tune of like, "You're like, I don't know how you're going to be successful with quarterback play like this," and it was the broadcaster's way of saying this guy should be benched.
Yeah.
And based on Narduzzi's presser, it would seem that he's looking at like making a change at quarterback. I don't know how much it helps behind a patchwork O-line that's been terrible and a coordinator that should have been never hired, but it can't hurt. Christian Vayers, he's a good throwing motion. He's accurate. He might not make the right reads, but he can throw a spiral. Nate Yarnell has a nice rainbow ball. Maybe let the sheriff play. Let the sheriff play.
Yeah, at this point, you just gotta you gotta find somebody that can do better than 3 completions and a half against a bad team.
Yeah.
His first half stats, like, it was 3 this week. I don't even remember how many he had against Virginia Tech. He had 4 against Cincinnati. Like, he had the okay day against UNC, but it's UNC. Their defense is terrible. Like, App State put up like 30 on them. So it's actually embarrassing. We only put up 17. So,
Yeah, there were some dude. The fact that the defense came out flat too.
they were. Is it time?
So there's got to be some stuff to be said about them in the first half. Like I said, they were flat. I think the effort was not great. There was some poor tackling. Obviously, the big play, but the fact that there was still a point in this third quarter where we went defensive touchdown, stop to be within 1 score. Phil has the ball in his hands would be a perfect time to put a drive together, do what offense is supposed to do and score points, and we just couldn't piece it together. Like, we shouldn't have been in that game. We were, and we still
got blown out.
Yeah.
We still got blown out. I mean, like you said, anytime the offense has the ball in their hands, you don't have faith they're going to get past midfield, let alone score. Like, every time they score, it's an accident. Someone misses an assignment. A miracle, an act of God happens for them to score a touchdown. I don't know, man. Just, the receivers get no separation. Teams get to tee off on our run game, which we can't block for. Can't block in the pass at all. So it's basically just it's a snowball, right? It's a snowball of shit, and it keeps rolling down this mountain at the landfill. It keeps gathering up more shit, and eventually it ends in getting blown out by a Virginia Tech team that had never scored 21 points in the first half under their current head coach. Yeah. So
You
let's
would have
talk
thought
about.
you would have thought we never played against a mobile running quarterback before.
Oh my god, dude. Okay, let's talk about the defense. Gotta talk about the defense, Matt. Gotta talk about the. I'm dying
Wait,
to talk to you about the
one more
defense.
thing on the offense before we move on. How about that 4th and 1 that we come up, try and draw them off sides. There's a timeout. We come up and try and draw them off sides, and then we end up punting, and it's a 10-yard punt.
The fucking middle school ass play to try and draw. Like, I remember it. It was just the play was just called black, and it was just we're gonna call Hut 6 times, and hopefully they jump off sides. It never works. It happened last night. The Jets game didn't work. Actually, no, they missed the field goal. That was the doink field goal. That wasn't the punt. That was the doink field goal. And I don't get how you do that when quarterback sneaks with Phil are the only consistently good thing on our offense. It was 4th and 1. And then you're just like, nah, actually, we're just going to kick a field goal. Like, that is disastrously cowardly play calling.
Yeah, we didn't even, yeah. And then we had a 10-yard punt. So it was like we might as well have gone for it. I'm
pretty sure it was the missed field goal.
No, it was definitely the punt.
Okay,
Fact check me right now. I'm ready for that one.
Okay, all right. I'll take your word for it.
No, you're good. Yeah, it was a rough one.
Defense.
Yeah.
So I think this is the worst defensive performance since 2017 Oklahoma State, 2018 Penn State, one of those games where they were just getting blown out of the water. And there were two big things that you both kind of touched on that I want to talk about. One, lack of effort in tackling. Basil Tootin made us look like a D2 team. Every time he got hit, it looked like we were just kind of – I mean, everyone was tackling completely standing up straight. There was no effort to tackle at all. And then, Ken, what you said about, like, not defending a running quarterback, Virginia Tech was just running read option and – like, so they're just running read option and outside toss plays or outside zone plays, and we couldn't defend either of them. Either someone fucked up on their assignment on the option, or both the defensive end and the linebacker got hooked, and an outside toss went for about 15 yards. And they just did it all night, and UNC did it to us too. Like, the outside of this defense is awful. Like, these are the worst defensive ends I think Narduzzi's ever had.
It's like the read option. It's not new.
No.
Zone toss is not new. Like this. Listen, I haven't watched a whole lot of Virginia Tech film prior to this game, admittedly, but it seems like it's a pretty big part of their offense. And I think if you have a week to game plan for that, it shouldn't be that hard to stop.
So they knew that this was the backup quarterback, but the tape on him was that he was mobile and that, you know, they were going to run the ball. They said it in the press conference there, yeah, we're going to run the ball more this week because they have a mobile quarterback, and they didn't adjust whatsoever. That was the real thing, is they just like, no, we're going to keep playing the same. Like, Bam Brima, Dayon Hayes, and Garrett Temple were just looked lost out there completely. They were either going too far in. Like, they had a couple of good plays, each of them, but overall, they looked awful. Linebackers are taking their lumps as young guys. And, man, our secondary looks awful. And I really hope that Marquez Williams comes back soon, because he seems like he's the only player worth his weight in salt in this secondary. MJ Devonshire has been getting cooked all year.
Yeah, the corners were giving up some of those deep balls too that honestly we're used to, because that's just kind of Narduzzi puts them out on the island. But when you're putting them out on the island to kind of play the run and they're still running the ball successfully, that's just tough to see.
We didn't even get, like, good pressure. Like, that's something that you always see with Pitt teams, and this year it's been non-existent. That is concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, when that's supposed to be the strength of the team, for sure. It seems like, honestly, the whole team's kind of given up at this point.
I don't even know how you can get up for games anymore, right? The offense is so bad that it just takes you out of games. So what's the point of, like, trying?
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I have the schedule pulled up, right? And I'm going to try to find us a way to get to 4 wins. I don't know if we do.
No, not a shot.
I don't know if we get. I don't know if we get to 4 wins. We go bye week: Louisville, Wake Forest, Notre Dame, Florida State, Syracuse, Boston College, Duke.
Boston College, best hope at a win.
Boston College is the only one that I'm even confident that we can win. You'd have to. You're not winning against Louisville. I have no faith in that. Duke, Florida State, Notre Dame, automatic losses.
Shit,
So you
Syracuse
have to
played
go-
Clemson. Syracuse played Clemson tough. I could see them kind of running it up on us.
Syracuse
the next
smart
best
enough
opportunity
before
is
that game.
Wake. It's probably Wake.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
We always have some surprise win, so I'll give us one surprise win. I'm just
The
going to
thing
keep
is,
the faith
though-
that we get our surprise win this year, even when we're terrible.
But those were like 6-6 team surprise wins. Like
5-7. Like we're always like 5-7 ish when we get the surprise wins.
That's true. The
I don't
1-11 is not quite the same threat.
No.
Our surprise win this year is going to be Wake Forest.
honestly, maybe Wofford is that the surprise win?
What's Wofford's record? That's the real question. Wofford.
Yeah, we looked really good against Wofford.
Yeah, what's their record? That's the real.
Would have cherished that game more if I knew it was going to be our only win.
Okay. What do you think Wofford's record is right now?
I'm not sure I even know what conference Wofford plays in, so I don't even know who they're playing.
They're FCS. Just they've played 5 games. Give me a guess.
I'll say they're 2-3.
Okay.
For the bit, I want it to be 1-4 so bad.
1-4.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I have this right. 0-5.
I was going to say, yeah, you get it.
Our only win this year is an 0-5 FCS team who has not scored more than 20 points in a game. Oh, baby.
We beat a powerhouse, baby.
That made me feel so much worse. God. Oh.
Dude, at what point? Okay. At what point does this losing start to hurt Narduzzi's stock, like for leaving for a Michigan State? Like,
It already has. Already has. I think he has played himself out of the job this year.
I was going to say, I don't even know if Michigan State's going to even consider him, considering how bad the team is this year. Like, he's playing himself out of any chance to leave. That's how bad it is.
we got to get like a psyop into the Pittsburgh sports media to really hype him up and try to get him to get. Dude, he's locked in for so long though. If he wants to stay, he's gonna, and
Dude,
we're just gonna have to sit here and deal with it.
Like, I think it's like Neil Brown level. It's like 20-30 million. He's locked in. He's in through 2020. He makes about $5.5-6 million a year. Like, there's no shot he leaves. I don't think Michigan State is going to hire him ever. They're going to pay that buyout for Pat Narduzzi.
I mean, imagine you're Michigan State. Are you going to hire some guy that's coming off of a 1-win season, or are you going to go after the guy that won 10 games at a different school? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I get the history there. I get, but it doesn't mean a whole lot when you're the head coach of a football team that looks like ours does.
It's almost like, how do I put this? I don't even know what I was going to say. I remembered. I think the only way that he even, like, they'll probably call him because, like, some boosters will want it. But I think the only way they seriously consider him is if everyone else says no. Like, I don't think too highly of Michigan State as a job. Like, it's pretty clearly now in, like, the bottom half of the Big Ten as far as jobs go. Like, you're already competing with Michigan In-State, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin most years, Iowa. Now you're introducing those 4 West Coast schools. Like, that's a terrible job to go into. That's the only thing that I would say. Like, maybe Mike Elko, who's been named as a top candidate, says no because he doesn't want to play for it. He doesn't want to do another rebuild. He might get another bigger job offer. Lance Leipold's another name you see thrown out there, but realistically, the team hasn't like just looked bad. They've looked lost, like assignment wise on both sides of the ball, and like that just means like something's just broken.
And we make no signs of making any adjustments, which is also a sign that you would want to see in a coach when you're trying to fill a coaching vacancy and you look at a team. It's like, all right, well, he had a tough year. What did he do to try and fix it? What do you try and do to adjust? And when you do a little digging and you realize he's not doing anything, and basically just his press answers, and
that's what makes it so much worse too. If
yeah.
he was,
He's a dick in the media.
we don't have to go down that whole rabbit hole. We know he's an asshole, but
yeah.
I think it's a really good week to not have Pitt football on.
Oh my god, I'm so
we need a break.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Indiana just fired their offensive coordinator, Walt Bell, because he stunk. So I hope Pat got that news that you can do that in the middle of the season.
Oh, that's
Rather,
yeah. We should.
I think Pat Narduzzi would call better offensive plays than fucking Frank Signetti at this point.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you got to do something. It's like you got to do something to try and generate some sort of good this year. Is Pitt and the Steelers going to be the first two teams to fire their offensive coordinators in the same year? College and NFL?
No, because Indiana did it first.
Well, yeah. In the same city, I guess. That's pretty... There's not many options there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bengals could do it.
But it is. I do feel for the Pitt people, all you guys out there that also have to turn around on Sunday and watch Matt Canada. Yeah, sorry, that's tough. It's the same thing 2 days in a row.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the last thing I have here, I mean, actually, two things. One, I think that the defense has, like, I think they were making adjustments in earlier games this year. Like Cincinnati and West Virginia, they actually, like, did play very well. But as soon as ACC play opened, they just don't care. They know they're going to lose. Like, against UNC, everything fell apart. And then Virginia Tech, they just didn't give a shit. They didn't want to tackle anybody. They wanted to go back home. Last thing. I promise is the last thing. This is something I noticed when I was rewatching the game. If you look at the first play of the second quarter, Pitt's tied with Virginia Tech 7-7. I think it's like third and 8 in the red zone. Could have held them to a field goal. They get like 10 yards on a screen pass. There are 10 players on the field for Pitt defensively. That's just the kind of season we're having right now.
It's Notre Dame, baby. Except we're playing Virginia Tech, not Ohio State.
Hey, we didn't give up a touchdown. We didn't give up a touchdown. We did, but not on that play.
Yeah. And it's, like you mentioned earlier, when you have an offense as bad as ours, if you're playing defense, like you're not going to, why should you try and get them the ball back when you know that they're just going to go out there and look the way they do?
Dude, they need to get like a cameo from like somebody from that Ravens defense in like the 2000s that they won all those games without their like, Ken, didn't they win like a bunch of games in a row without their offense even scoring a point?
Yeah.
Like
they won the Super Bowl that year, and they won like a bunch of games in a row without scoring an offensive touchdown.
Like, get a cameo from somebody on that team to tell them it's possible. Maybe we'll get one of our surprise wins will be a game we just have a shutout and the defense blocks a punt or something, because that's what it needs to happen at this point.
What was the time of possession this game? Oh yeah, here's
Ray
another
Lewis,
factor.
Rob, non-cameo.
The time of possession in this game, Virginia Tech held the ball for 37, almost 38 minutes. That's just
What is that? I'm not a math guy. What does that leave us with?
22.
Yeah.
Also, it hurts that they basically jacked Penn State's thing at the whiteout and then they beat us with it. That's the little dollop of icing on this shit sandwich. Oh my God, their quarterback completed 12 passes. God. Also, wait, was Rodney Hammond hurt in the second half of this game? Because he just didn't play. Does anyone know?
I was watching at a Pittsburgh bar in Philly. Funny enough, they didn't really have the sound too loud on the TVs, but I didn't hear anything about that. So I did. Hey, silver lining in Pitt being dog shit though. I did get a free beer at the bar because the bar owner was actually was tending the bar, and he saw I had a Pitt sweatshirt on, and he said, "That one's on the house. Thanks for coming out, even though we suck."
It's all about the little wins. It's all about the little wins.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Are we done with this game? Are we over with this tire fire?
Yeah.
Speaking of that 2000 Ravens team, there was a guy in Baltimore who stayed on his roof for weeks and he said he wasn't going to come down until they scored a touchdown. Maybe that's what we need to do.
Dude. Some kid in Oakland could make that happen.
There's enough roofs that you can get onto.
Listen, I'm not going to do it, but somebody in Pittsburgh should. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and instead of a touchdown, it's till we win a game again. He might be out there for a number of weeks.
At least 2 weeks at this point because we're not playing this week.
If anybody really wants to be a Pitt legend, here's your opportunity.
I saw this thing where NC State fans were posting missing signs for their backup quarterback because they hate Brendan Armstrong so much, who actually just got benched. But it was like missing. Have you seen MJ Morris? I think someone should go around Oakland and put up posters like saying wanted, dead or alive, and there's just a picture of Frank Signetti. I think that would play really well.
Propaganda.
It's
ideas.
We just got to start the narrative. Want to talk about the rest of the weekend? You guys have any thoughts on the other big games?
I mean, the slate. I'll be honest.
Zach, if you want to go through, and I'll chime in if there's any that I have comment on that you miss.
All right. We're gonna start going over the top three. Georgia, Auburn. Georgia escapes 27-20. We were watching this one for a long time. Georgia has not looked good this year. I mean, I'm saying this as a Pitt fan. They're undefeated, and we have one win. But only beating Auburn by 7 is concerning, I think. Especially they only won when Brock Bowers remembered how to play. He was like the best player on the field. And I don't know. I think Georgia can get got this year. Well, the regular season.
Yeah, they're not the Georgia from the past couple years where they walk out on the field and they're automatically 21-point favorites over pretty much anybody they're playing. It's fun for college football. I mean, I like when there's not just one team that they're still, I think, probably far and away the best team in all of college football. But like you said, they're gettable.
I disagree with that. I actually disagree that they're far and away the best team. I'll actually go to them next. I think Texas should be ranked number 1. I think they have the best win of the season in beating Alabama on the road. And then they manhandled Kansas. I thought Kansas was going to keep this game close. Now, their backup quarterback was in. For some reason, their starter just couldn't go prior to the game. But beating Kansas 40-14, I don't think is a small feat. Yeah, it's like, it's Kansas. But Kansas is a lot better. They have a very potent offense. They had one of the all-time coolest touchdowns where you had the fumble pitch back to the running back and took it to the house. But I think Texas should be ranked number 1. I'll be honest.
No love for Michigan there either, then?
Nebraska's not great. I mean,
yeah, they haven't played anybody.
Michigan is starting to wake up. They finally blew out a team that was of lower quality in Nebraska. But I think that Texas overall has a better resume. And I think at this point in the season, when you're entering conference play, you kind of have to phase out your preseason rankings and really start looking at what's been done on the field.
That's true. That's very true, actually. You have enough of a sample size now to kind of figure out who the real dogs are.
Next up, is Penn State Is James Franklin betting on the games?
He has to be, dude.
Okay.
He fucking has to be. This game was so much closer than a 40-14 game. That motherfucker loves a backdoor cover so much.
So I think he's betting on the games because he not only did he go for it in garbage time to cover, but he did the same thing against West Virginia in the opening week.
Yeah. He doesn't want any Penn State talk. If they don't cover, oh, this was closer than they thought. Dude,
It was 10-10 at half. They looked terrible. Like Drew Aller looked like he was going Phil Dracovic mode in the first half.
yeah.
Which I don't know if I'm in any position to say that, but whatever. Next up, 3 games in the Pac-12 real quick. Washington does not fall in the late night game to Arizona. They went 31-24. It was a little bit less close than the final score indicated. Washington still put up like 500 yards of offense. Could have been a lot more points on the board. Oregon rolls over Stanford. I think those are probably the 2 best teams in the Pac-12, and that's because number 8 USC almost crapped their pants against Colorado. They were up 34-14 at halftime and almost blew it.
Yeah, that was a classic tale of 2 halves. Colorado looked horrible in the first half, stormed back in the second half. Caleb Williams, I think, threw 6 touchdowns and a pick. And yeah, they still Colorado. They are entertaining. You gotta give them that. No matter what you think of them, they draw a lot of eyes for good reason. You mentioned. You go ahead.
I was just saying, I think that was the highest over under of the year yet, unless there was some obscure one earlier in the year. But it was also the easiest hit of an over ever. Also, it was at 74, I think, and it just felt like it was never in doubt. Neither one of those teams has any interest in playing defense whatsoever.
Yeah, the over under was 74.5, and it hit by a good amount, over 10 points. I do think, though, that USC is not a real contender because you can't be doing that. You look at what Oregon did to Colorado and then what USC did, and you start to ask some questions. I would say, they only won because Colorado couldn't get the onside kick. I think if Colorado gets that onside, they might win that game.
Yeah, for sure. It was kind of he kicked it and went on a hop immediately instead of getting a few rolls before he got that hop. Would have been fun to see that one kind of get a better chance, but pretty much dead. Guy came up and caught it pretty cleanly. So not the most exciting onside kick. Would have been fun. Yeah, you mentioned Oregon. Oregon looks really, really good. Hot take right now. They're my new pick to win the Natty right now.
Wow.
I think they look that good.
Washington thing going here. Huskies all the way, dude.
Yeah.
Wait, did anybody in other Pac-12 news here? Did any of us pick Utah to win the Pac-12?
Ooh, I don't know.
All right, because we're sharp then, because there was the first cannibalization of the Pac-12. It kind of feels like with them going down on Friday night.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even cover that one. Yeah, they did lose 21-7 on Friday. They're still without their starting quarterback, though. I think that was sort of due to happen because the offense didn't look great the first 4 weeks, and then you can't win every game 7-0, 14-7. Especially when you're playing a competent offense that's not starting a freshman quarterback, but they're still in it. I mean, they're only 4-1, but unless Cam Rising comes back, they're out. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I mean, people love him. If they go on a run, and I guess they're not completely ruled out of the. They could still make a run at the Pac-12 championship, but they're pretty much having to win out at this point. So.
Yeah, Cam Rising, I think he was pretty much a game time decision for this game, or he was trying to play, ended up being kind of a last minute. No, he's not good to go. So maybe you'll see him, next game. So we'll see. I would like to see them get a chance with him back, see if they can make a run and make things interesting. But yeah, man, I don't know. Oregon, I mean, you look at USC against Colorado and you look at Oregon against Colorado. I mean, obviously USC was dominating the first half. Um, but they let Colorado back into the game. Oregon just completely dominant. I don't know. It's the eye test, man.
It
It's what's
really
got me
is.
right now.
It's like the USC still feels like it's just Oklahoma in a different uniform. Like it's the same thing every year. The offense scores tons of points, and the defense is a complete liability. And now that there are two other teams their caliber in the conference, I don't think they get away without honestly 2 losses in conference play for USC.
Yeah, Pac-12. Very, very fun last year of the Pac-12.
Needed it to stay. Next up, Notre Dame 21, Duke 14. Duke blinked. Blitz is working all night. At the very end of the game, they drop into zone, and Notre Dame just gashes them on 2 straight run plays. Riley Leonard gets hurt at the end of this game. Duke had this the whole time, and then they blinked. That sucks. They could have had the upset. I'm not going to say good for Notre Dame. I don't like Notre Dame.
Yeah, the 4th and long at the end of that game was pretty much the deciding factor. So once they got that, once Sam Hartman ran and picked that up, pretty similar to the Mahomes run on 3rd and 22 last night. Sorry, Zach.
Bang, 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 catching strays. But yeah, I agree. That was the killer. Okay, so we talked about USC Colorado being a points fest. How about LSU Ole Miss 55-49? Oh my God! You want to talk about 2 teams not interested in playing defense? Here you go. And now the SEC West is wide open.
Yeah, this was a fun game until it wasn't. If you bet LSU, like one of the people on this podcast might have done. But yeah, I mean, Jackson Dart looked pretty good. Blanking on LSU's quarterback's name right now.
Jaden Daniels.
Thank you. Gunslinger game.
Jane Daniels got lit up.
He did get lit up on that
really
one play
funny,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they combined for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. This was fireworks.
It's funny because this is exactly the kind of game that Lincoln Riley wants to play, though.
Yeah.
Not sure if you can say the same for Brian Kelly, but they made him play the Lane Kiffin game, and Lane Kiffin won. So,
Yeah, I mean, there are not many teams that can out Kiffin. Like, there's a handful, and they're all at the top. So that yeah, you put the nail on the head there. Any other games? Maryland 5-0. Kent, what do you have to say?
Go Terps. I'm all in on the Terps. We need to get down for a Terps game, boys. They got Ohio State this week. Obviously, their biggest test of the year so far. If they hold their own against Ohio State, not saying I'm anticipating anything, but this, Tua's little brother looks pretty good. This is kind of the start that teams or that people expected them to have once they brought in Loxley a few years ago, and they're finally kind of putting it together. Best season under Loxley so far for sure, and we'll just see. They're having fun with it. Obviously, they're in the hardest, conference or division to really be in, and they're getting the real test this weekend. So,
Well put. I forgot about this one actually because I got so mad about Pitt. UCF absolutely crapped their pants. They were up 35-7 and lose 36-35. Baylor's biggest comeback in school history.
yeah.
Man, you love to see it. I don't like UCF.
Yeah, Zach and I were watching, and we kind of turned that one off for a second. All of a sudden, we look up a little while later, and I'm like, "Oh my God, Baylor came back!" Zach couldn't believe it. He popped right up. We watched the end of that one. He was like, "You're joking." He thought I was lying.
26 unanswered points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, yeah. It was that type of game. Chicago Bears type joke right there.
Yeah. Last two teams I want to cover: Air Force, best team in the group of five, and I just want to kind of bring this up because West Virginia is 4-1 after beating TCU on the road as like a 10-point dog. Um, I'm just gonna say it here, and this is like really scary. West Virginia has only one game on the rest of their schedule that's an automatic loss. That's at Oklahoma in November. They play Houston, Oklahoma State, UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, and Baylor. Um, I don't want to actually. I'm going to ring the alarm. 10-2 West Virginia is possible.
It's crazy.
I mean, I guess that's good. Like, I guess that's good for us being like, oh, that actually wasn't that bad of a loss.
It was.
I know. It's a loss you can maybe, if they go 10-2, you can be okay with if Pitt wins a couple more games, and that's just one kind of blemish on the schedule. That's obviously, I think we're aware, not the case though.
Yeah, I think we're beyond that point. I think that ship has sailed.
That was a bit more than a blemish at this point.
Yeah, that was yuck. But yeah, it's super surprising. I mean, they blocked 2 field goals in this game. Yeah, I mean, Neil Brown really saving his job this year. Everybody thought he was going to be the first coach fired this year for good reason.
Dude, maybe that's what happens when you're coaching for your job. Maybe if we just need to start calling for Narduzzi's job more, he'll figure some shit out and get a bad Pitt team to 4-1.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
It's time to flick a lighter under Narduzzi's seat right now.
Yeah. Oh, if only he had a couple less years in that contract.
So we'll see. I mean, you said they play BYU. I need our boy Keaton Slovis to come through for us.
Speaking of Keaton, man, he is accounted for more touchdowns in 5 games this year than he did all of last year. BYU is also 4-1.
Didn't want to say it.
His one touchdown pass.
I got to put this out there. Keaton Slovis, I'm sorry. I was very mean to you last year. It is, looking back on it, it is pretty much completely undeserved. I'm sorry. I'll be the bigger man here. Yeah.
Not completely undeserved.
I mean, I don't know. Do you think here's a fun question? Do you think Keaton Slovis would have Pitt at more than one win this year?
Yes.
Thank you. I think you would. I think Pitt would be 4-1 with Keaton Slovis. Maybe. I don't know.
That's the beauty of sports, gents. We'll never know.
We definitely got at least, I don't know about 4-1, 2+ for sure.
I think you could safely say 3.
Yeah. I don't know.
What would Pitt's record be with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback?
Let's get a little quick. Zach Wilson.
I honestly think that there would still be. I know he's incredible, but if you put him in a Frank Signetti offense, I don't know if a whole lot he can do. So,
I mean, his best year in college was 7-5. So,
yeah,
we're just asking the questions.
My last point on the Pitt team at this moment. Can we please get Gavin Bartholomew the ball more? I know we have to get everybody the ball more. I know we had 3 completions in the first half, but just get him involved. I don't care what you have to do.
What about the old Whipple shovel pass or something? Just get it in his hands.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's clearly every time you get the ball in his hands, bro. It's clear he wants to get the ball. He wants to make some plays for your team, and yet and for 2 years now you've refused to even give him the ball. It's just in the grand scheme of how bad this offense is, that is like the thing that irritates me the most.
No, tight ends are meant to block. That's an extra lineman in the run game.
Dude, that's what really bothers me is that I love Gavin. He's not a run blocking tight end. Like, he's not built like that. he needs to be flexed out and getting the ball. I mean, we got him the ball like 3 times this game. I think he caught every ball that was targeted. Same with Kanata. Kanata had a crazy ass catch because he had to make it. And like these guys are great with the ball in their hands, and yet it's just like, no, let's throw a flat to Malcolm Epps. Or, I mean, most of the time the ball doesn't really get to where it needs to go, but that's a whole different problem. But
We should just start running like gadget plays and weird stuff. Just get crazy with it.
Let's get some. Well, I was going to say some flea flickers, but we can't block long enough for those.
Yeah.
no, yeah, I think I'm good on that. I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's tough. Just put Gavin in QB.
Can you throw
Taysom
the
Hill,
ball?
little Taysom Hill action. Tight end at quarterback.
If he could throw the ball to himself, that might work. I don't know. Nothing matters. Fucking eat at Arby's, whatever. Who cares? Enjoy the bye week. That's what I'm gonna say. Enjoy your bye week. We back with the preview. Like I said, we'll be doing Q&A. We have a basketball preview coming up with our good friend Mike. He'll be coming back on the pod. Follow the pod at SimplifiedPod on Twitter. And with that, see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.
Bye week.